Welcome back to One Man and 5 Acres. I'm Trent. Today we're going to be working on, well, it's a Dodge Caravan. No 4. Kind of crusty. It's right there behind me. It's a little blemished here and there. But we're working on it today. Either way, we're going to get it fixed. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting a whole rear end in this van. It's not working very well anymore. It's actually about ready to fall out. It's had a few things done to it and stuff. Yeah. Well, let's just get to it and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll show you. Oh. Yeah, I'll show you. Here we go. All right, we're going to put this rear end, it's a rear axle, out of another Chrysler product. It is a minivan rear end. And we're going to put it in this one here. It's got a hole in it, big time. And as you can tell, when you drive it, it rubs the inside of the fender well here with the tire. It's getting, it's flexing way too much when it goes down the road. And so we're going to blow the tires off of it, pull the drums off of it, unbolt it from the springs, and put that in here. And the old one, it's got to go. So, yep. Let's get it all started up and then we'll see how it goes. All right, the first thing we need to do is we need to take these tires off, unbolt everything here, remove this, and do the same thing on the other side of the van. So we're going to take this tire off and the other tire off to get to the drums, so I can pull the drums off of it, so I can get to the braking system here, because when I go to take this off, I want as much weight off of it as possible. I'm going to bungee cord the braking system up here, and I need the drums off of it so that they can hang without doing any damage to the brake lines. So we're going to do that. There's 4 bolts that actually hold the hub bearing assembly on, and they're located in the back side. I got to take those out, pull this whole apart as I go, and you'll see here in a minute. So that's what we're going to get started on. First thing I'm going to do is take this tire off. All right, tire doesn't want to come off. You leave a nut on there, not completely tight, but on there pretty good. I'll show you how to pop that off. All right, you get a big bar like this one right here. It's a big pry bar. This is a Blue Point from Snap-on. And what you want to do is you want to get up here behind the wheel and the drum, just like so, and give it a tug. Might have to do it a couple times. Here we go. Oh, that one's on there. That one's on there good, actually. There it goes. And you pop it off. Now it's nice and loose. These aluminum rims, what happens is they corrode, and they'll corrode on the back side on the metal, and they'll keep you from popping it off. Get this off of there, show you the corrosion. It's almost like super glue. as you can tell, it's all that nice white chalky stuff. That's corrosion. Kind of see it's white right there, a little chalk. Anyhow, that oxidizes up against the metal right here. And that's a heck of a ring. It's going to be, I need to get this drum off. That is going to cause me to have some problems getting that off there. We'll squirt it down with some penetrant. We'll let it sit for a little bit. And then we'll smack it with a hammer and see if it jars it loose. All right, some regular old double D40 here. Give it a little squirt. There's some holes here that got threads in them. If I smack it with a hammer and it doesn't come off right away, we'll we will use these and see if we can't pop it off. But normally, a good smack with a hammer and they loosen up pretty quick. But we'll let this set here for a minute. Yeah, WD-40, let it do its work, and hopefully it does the trick. It gets it all done. Not a sponsor, but hey, if WD-40 wants to be a sponsor, just let me know. All right, let's let her sit. We'll be back. All right, we're gonna smack it with a hammer. Go. Let's see if it comes off. Oh, yeah. All right. Just lighten it up by a good 20 pounds, I'd say. Now I can get to these bolts in here. Get a little, put some WD-40 on these bolts that come through on this bearing here. And we're going to take them off back here, and then this whole assembly here, I'll hang it up here out of the way. Okay, so we got the drum off. Right here's where I lubricated it. There's a bolt right there. This bolt here goes all the way through from the back all the way up through here. So we're going to take it off back here. There's 4 of them back here, so I got all 4 of them. I showed you how to do what I just did here on the front. I did the same thing over here, exact same thing. It's all apart. So this is all on there. Lubricated the bolt right there. That Phillips screwdriver's pointing. Lubed all 4 of those. Same thing on the back side. Right back here, the bolts go through. I'll take those off, and hopefully this right here comes right off of there, and we don't have to replace them. At least that's the goal anyway. All right, these bolts on the back side are 18s. We're gonna see if this little 3/8 impact gun will take them out. And it's out. Good deal. 3 more to go. All right, move the camera a little bit here. What I'm going to do now is I got these bolts. I kind of threaded them back in, 2 of them, one down here on this corner and one up here at this corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an air hammer, and I'm going to air hammer on the top head of each bolt. So basically, we're going to put a punch right here on the top of this head with an air hammer and drive down on it, and that should make this hub right here come this way. So yeah, yep, it'll come this way. For those that don't know what an air hammer looks like, this is an air hammer right here. This right here gets pushed out a bunch of times. It's got a hammer inside here that hits the end of that. So this is what an air hammer looks like. All right, when you go to do this type of stuff, you want to make sure you have hearing protection on. Years ago, I never used to do that, and I suffer from a little bit of hearing problems. So let's get this up in there and see what happens. Moving. There we go. Like that. Bolts out of there. All right, there's a 13 millimeter right here holding this brake line on. So we want to see if we can't. There we go. That's nice. Come right off like that. That makes life a lot easier. All right. We'll take this out. I'll get a bungee cord and we'll bungee that up here on this fender, inside this fender well here, to help hold this this assembly up so we don't bend this line. I couldn't find any bungee cords of mine, but this plastic here is pretty hefty, so I took some just some zip ties, wrapped them around the adjuster hole back there for the brakes, just wrapped it around there to hold on to it so it doesn't fall. And that's all it's doing, is just keeping the pressure off of that. That's all it's doing. So that'll work, and then until I get this all off here and get this down out of there. So sometimes you got to improvise. Didn't have any bungee cords to look for them. I don't know where they're at. They're in the shop somewhere, but always know you can put a bunch of them together. It will hold this up and it won't go nowhere. And then when we need to be done with it, I'll just cut it off. No big deal. All right, the next thing, I got both sides bungeed up and held. I did find one bungee of mine, but anyhow, I wanted to show you guys, this is the problem. See that right there? See that? Here, let me get back here. Look at that, it's all cracked. It's actually letting this thing flex back and forth because there's nothing really holding it anymore. So they tried to repair it, put some metal on there and stuff like that. Yeah, they fixed it, you know, in this area here, but there's no material here for them to weld to right here where my finger's at. It's just gone. They tried to put a little cobble weld right there, but that's not holding it. So yeah, we're gonna rip this apart. Now, the next thing that's up on the agenda here for this rear end is we gotta get this out. This bolt is very nasty. I'm hoping it comes out. I've got to take this bar. This is a track bar. We've got to take this bolt out right here. We've been spraying it down, so it should come out fairly easy. And then disconnect both of the shocks on both sides, and I'm going to put those two stands right there, that one and that one right here, and one right there to hold this up so when I undo it, it doesn't fall on my feet. Let's get started. All right, it's another 13. We're going to put some pressure on it, see if it'll pop loose. No, it is not. All right, all I did was take a 12 millimeter and an extension, and I hit it with a hammer here, driving this 12 millimeter onto that socket. That's all I did. Now I'm gonna try to hit it with an impact to try to get it to come out. Give it a real quick jolt to see if I can just bust it loose. All right, well, it's not coming off, so we're gonna heat it up with a little bit of MAP gas and see if we can't get it to move with this. If not, I'm going to be cutting this off. All right, I got it off. Wasn't exactly the way I wanted it to work, but it broke. It just broke off, which is fine because I needed this bracket all intact, so I'm fine with that. All right, now we're going to take this track bar loose. It's an 18 millimeter on both sides. It's got a bolt and a nut. Yeah, we need a bigger gun. All right, bigger gun. Probably rusted inside that bushing, I would say. I think the bushing gave out. All right, so this bolt right here is froze inside the bushing that goes into this this track bar here. Couldn't think for a second. Anyhow, this track bar here, there's a bushing and this bolt goes through it. This is rusted to, this right here is rusted inside that bushing, so it will not come out of there. However, it did come out right there, completely out of there. I just gotta take a pry bar and pop it down the rest of the way out of there, but it came out. So I don't need this track bar because I got one right there. So I just gotta put a nut on the end of that, which I just took one off, so I got one there. And I got the bolt and everything for this one. No problem. This is going to go together pretty good then. The whole object of this is to use $0 on putting this back together. My buddy Mike, this is his van. He was the one that was helping me in the garden all summer long. This is his van. He bought this on a real cheap. And it had some problems, but we're gonna try to get some of these problems, ironed out. So right now, we're gonna get that out of there and move on to getting these off and then getting this off and then dropping this whole thing down out of there. All right, so we're gonna take the shocks off. All we need to do is take it off from the axle. We don't need to worry about it off the body. There we go. Pretty easy. Now I'll just do the same thing on the other side. All right, we're gonna try to take these bolts out here. There's one here, and one here, one right there, and one right there. They're a 19 millimeter socket. We're gonna use an impact on it to get them out. See if they come out. There's one. There's two. There's three. And there's four. All right. Now I'll just repeat it on the other side and we'll get this axle out. All right. I've got both sides off. All the bolts are out. Everything's nice and loose. Now we just got to drop the axle down and get it out of the way. As you can see, I got jack stands underneath here. They're the big ones. These are from Arbor Freight. You got to put them together, and you can use it to steady a vehicle underneath the rack. So if you don't want it to shake, they work great for that. They work great for just holding a fuel tank. If you just want to drop it down a little bit to replace a fuel pump in there or something like that. It doesn't work on everything, but it does help on some. Right now it's doing its job by holding this axle. So when I lift this car up, it hopefully stays right on those. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, it's holding a little bit. There we go. See if this other side will drop down. There we go. Alright. Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere when I lift it the rest of the way up. Pretty sure it's going to fall. It's a little top heavy over there on that corner. See if I can't roll it without it falling off the jacks. See if it'll stay there. All right. That's one axle removed. That's kind of short. That's kind of how you do it. You just pull it apart and remove it. Now I got to do is reverse everything and put the new one in there and start putting it back together. Come here, baby. There we go. All right, it's dinner time, so we'll wrap this project up in the morning. I got out, and set what I wanted to get done. Sit down and give my back a break. I'm not used to doing this stuff anymore. So, but anyway, yeah. So we got it out, got it set down. Tomorrow we'll install the other one and get it all up in there, get everything hooked up. There's a couple things on the new one that needs to come off. One, the sway bar that needs to come off. This in here does not have a sway bar on it. So we'll take that sway bar off and we'll get that done. It shouldn't be too hard to do. That other axle on that on there, everything on that is really nice. It's pretty clean, really no rust at all. So it should be easy to just take it apart and put it back together, no big deal. So that's the plan anyway. So we'll lower this car down for the night. I don't like leaving them up in the air. I will lower it down to the ground. We'll leave it a couple feet up off the ground. That way, if, let's just say, you know, somehow or another, an earthquake or the rack decides to give out or something like that, it just sets itself on the ground. Not a big deal. So, and then I set one lock on it down at the bottom on the rack, so it locks it in and keeps it to where it needs to be. And I take all the pressure off my hydraulics on my rack. I never leave anything on my hydraulic system on my rack. I bleed that off, and I set everything down on the locks on the rack. To me, that's the safest way to do it. It saves wear and tear on my equipment, and that way I can get a lot of use out of it. I'm hoping it lasts my whole life, so it should, as much as I use it. We don't use it very much. However, a lot of my videos, there's a car on the rack, but trust me, it doesn't get used as much as it would if I was doing this professionally all the time, like I used to. I would probably wear it out. It's not a real expensive high dollar one, but it does the job. It's rated at 10,000 pounds. So with that being said, we'll see you in the morning. All right, it's Saturday morning, and we're back in the shop, finish up this van. So we're gonna get started on this and get this other rear end picked up, put inside there, see what we can get done. Yeah, I'm not very energetic today, so yeah, let's get started on it and get it done. That way I can get other things done. Always got things to do, always. So, yep, let's get started. All right, what I did here was I put the rear axle on a transmission jack here. That way I can jack it up to the car, and I can move it around to get the dowel pins here lined up right here a little easier, and get it back together. If you don't have a transmission jack, like I said, those jacks there will work. A little bit more work involved with them, but they do work. So if you don't have a jack stand, you don't have those, well, the only thing I can tell you is manual labor is the way to go. Done that for years, and that's why I have shoulder, neck, hand, and arm problems, and yes, back problems as well. So we don't do that anymore. It's not worth the pain and suffering of hurting yourself. So they make tools so you don't have to do that. So this particular jack's transmission jack, I do want to add in there is that I got this off a marketplace, brand new. A guy said he worked with hydraulic stuff, and they got these in, and so he bought a bunch of these. Anyhow, I got this off a marketplace. And anyway, I've shown this jack before by pulling transmissions out. This thing works great. It's not a real expensive one, but buddy, it works when you need it, and that's all that matters. So let's get started. All right, all it did was jack up the jack here, right there, lowered the vehicle, and there's those dowel pins that were sticking out here. They lined up in here. We just closed the gap is all we did, and that's all we needed to do there. Did that on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bolts that are left, and I'll stick them back in here. I'll put a little bit of red thread lock on them and run them down, and then start hooking everything back up. That's about it. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I'll show you a little bit at a time as I go, so you have a little of understanding of what I'm doing. All right. Get these started here. Looks like I'll have to adjust them a little bit. I have to lift the car up just a smidge. All right, I got all the bolts started. I just fingered them in there to get them, tighten them by hand a little bit, and then I'll run them down with the impact real good. I'll use the big impact, and it should tighten them down nicely. Did it on both sides. I don't know if you can see all that. Got them all down in there. So now we'll just take the impact and run them down, and then we can remove that, and yeah, just start putting everything back together. All right, got them all cinched down with the impact. They're all nice and tight all the way around. Everything's good, no problems. Everything went together really nice. Everything's on here, nice and tight. Got a light for a reason. There we go. All the bolts are down in there, nice and tight. Everything looks good. So, yep, everything's good. No problems. And we just gotta, start putting everything back together. Get that jack out from underneath there. Get that track bar back on. Yeah, everything's going good. I got the, all I had to do after doing those was you did this here. All I had to do was put these bolts back in it and nuts, and same thing on the other side. Now we're going to do the track bar. Same thing, just slide the bolt in and put it back together. The bolt's going to go right in through there. Put the track bar up in there, slide the bolt through it, put the nut on it, tighten it up. Down there, all I got to do is put the nut on it, tighten it up. Pretty simple. All right. So this just goes up in there like this. Just like that. Might have went too high with it. I did. There it goes. Slide that in. Nut goes on there just like that. If I can get it to start. There it goes. There we go. And then I'll put the impact on it, tighten it down right there, and I'll do the other one on the other end, and that track bar will be secured and ready to go. There we go. And we'll move on to the next one. see that, but those threads are boogered up on that bolt. So I'm gonna put a tap on there and run it down there and clean those up. All right, we had to tap this bolt here. Threads were boogered up. We got them fixed. Went ahead and tightened this thing up. It's on there, and no problems. Tightened right down. Over here, reinstalled this brake bar right here. This right here needed tapped. I had to retap this, put the bolt in there. It's on there nice and good. Now I just got to put the backing plates and the hub bearings back in. Bolt this on. And yeah, this thing will be ready for the drums and ready to go back together. Put the drums on there and yep, let's get started. So here's how I got these held up there. And I sat there and I said, you know, use this as a temporary hold. This is what I mean by that. Just trim it, cut this back off of there. And then now all you gotta do is just reinstall this back on there to a point where it sits, and then we'll run the bolts in the back side of it, get them started by hand. Got the bolts right here, set them down there, get some light back here so I can see what I'm doing, just like so. And then we'll start with the top one here. All right, got that one started. It's always nice to start them by finger. That way you can tell if it's going in straight or if it's starting to burr or cross thread, which we don't want any of those to happen. Just like that. All right. They're all started. Now I'll just take the impact and it'll suck it back in there onto that axle. All right, the air compressor quit finally, but we, hit this bolt and the bolt down here, and we walked it in until it was flush, and then we drove the other two in on here, then tightened it down real good with the impact here, and it's all nice and secure again. So ready for the drum to go back on there. This bearing feels pretty good, so that's a good thing. All right, we'll move on to the other side, do the same thing. We got the other side done. I don't know if you guys can see down in there or not, but all 4 bolts are in there. So got them all done. We're all back together. We're almost there, almost there. Now we just gotta put the drums on, adjust the shoes and everything, make sure they're good to go. And we're basically about ready to start putting tires on. All right, all we had to do, I got it outside here, got it test drove, everything's good to go now. All I had left to do in that last, all I had left to do is put the rotors on, or the drums back on it on both sides of the tires. Did that and pulled it outside. Got it test drove. Everything looks good. It rides good. No more rubbing on the inside of the fender. So she's back to normal. So all good. All right. Well, that's all done and over with. Got that car buttoned up and everything, so it should be good to go. All I can say is if you like these videos and you like the content that I'm putting out, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share them with friends, or leave a comment. But yeah, that there is done, and we'll move on to another project. So I'll talk to you all later. You have a good one. Bye.